Hello again. You're watching Today on eNCA, DSTV Channel 43 with me, Dan Moyane. If you've just joined us, the breaking news of the afternoon is the increase by 25 basis points of the repo rate. The announcement made just a short while ago by the Reserve Bank Governor, Elize Kruger. This means that the new repo rate is at 7.25% and the prime lending rate by retail banks has gone up to 10.75%. We'll continue bringing you some reaction to this hike here on eNCA this afternoon and into the evening. Now, the average take-home pay has fallen by almost 5% in December 2022. That's according to the latest Bankserve Africa Take-home Pay Index. With a rising cost of living, higher interest rates, as we've just heard now, and rolling blackouts, most companies kept a tight lid on salary increases last year. Is there a silver lining to look forward to this year? Well, let's get the views of independent economist Elize Kruger. Ms. Kruger, good afternoon. Welcome to Today. Before we talk about this take-home pay decline, just getting your view as an economist, many of your colleagues had forecast or predicted that the Reserve Bank Governor Elize Kruger and the MPC would increase the repo rate by anywhere between 25 basis points and 50 basis points, and more of them thinking 50 basis points, but we've just been slapped with a 25 basis point increase. Your reaction?
Yes, Dan, that was actually my view on the day. I'm of the opinion that the Reserve Bank should actually be getting to a level where they could just keep rates unchanged, perhaps for a prolonged period, a couple of quarters, but not to hike further from this level. Because if you are forward-looking on inflation, you would know and see that inflation has already reached an upper turning point and that we are heading lower, moderating inflation into 2023. So, the repo rate minus your inflation rate that has been negative will now change over. So we will have a positive real repo rate, and that would mean a more restrictive stance of monetary policy. So, the banks always say that they are forward-looking. And from that point of view, my view was that they could almost not do anything today, but I did have the view of a 25 basis points. Listening to the rhetoric of the Reserve Bank governor in recent weeks.
Okay, thanks, Elize, for your reaction there. Now, let's talk about this almost 5% decline in take-home pay that South African households suffered in December. I mean, times are tough as they are, Elize.
Yes, indeed. I think I want to actually start off with just maybe giving a bit of context for this number, in the sense that the Bankserve Africa Take-home Pay Index is calculated by taking the total value of all the salaries paid into the bank accounts of South Africans divided by the number of salaries. So that gives us that average that you just quoted being 4.8% lower. But what we've picked up in the data over the past two months particularly, but also during the course of 2022, is that more salaries were paid in the economy. So as more salaries were paid, i.e. more people got jobs, but the average salary has come down. So that to us meant that, the jobs that were created in the lower income categories of the economy, maybe temporary, maybe seasonal type of jobs, and therefore bringing down that average pay.
Okay.
So on the one hand, it's a negative.
So, Elize, I'm going to have to come in. Yeah, sorry, Elize, I'm going to have to cut you there. Oh, okay, sorry about that.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I'm getting different instructions in my ear. Apologies for that. I thought we were going to go live to the Johannesburg City Council now, where the vote has been happening, vote of no confidence, or motion of no confidence against Mpho Phalatse. But you were still explaining that. So when we look at this context, I mean, does it mean in effect that people actually took home much less than they should have or they could have?
Let me say, so they take home less, but more people are being paid. So just in a way that this metric is indicative, so there's more people getting a lower salary, as opposed to less people getting a higher salary. So I want to say on the one side, it's positive that there were job creation in the economy according to Bankserve data, but the average pay level has been lower. But overall, as you mentioned, the factors in the economy have been quite negative this year on the whole sort of wage increase arena, and we've seen right through the economy that nominal wage increases were lower compared to the average inflation rate of 6.9%. So it's I would say, an economy-wide phenomenon in this high inflation environment that companies cannot match the inflation number if it's in this type of upward phase.
And I mean, the big story coming out of Lisisha Khanyago earlier, a short while ago, Elize, is that load shedding has robbed our economy of a 2% growth. I mean, they're now forecasting 0.3%. And that means in terms of salaries and businesses managing, this year might not hold any silver lining. Or am I wrong?
I think you have got that exactly on the point. So companies are struggling, higher cost of doing business, having to incorporate, solutions for load shedding to keep doors open. So I think most companies are turning into survival mode. And in survival mode, you're not, appointing extra people, you're not paying high salaries. You try to keep the business open, keep the doors open amid all these difficult challenges. So I do believe, and I think you're right in saying it's going to be a difficult year out there again on wages. However, the one positive is that inflation has been coming down, as I mentioned, and at least from that point of view. So if you now get a 5.5% salary increase, that will match your inflation rate, whereas say in the past year with inflation at 6.9 average, there were very little people in this economy that earned salary increases of that nature.